voice story the first time I saw it. I told myself it was just a glitch. Just a shadow. Just my imagination. But deep down, I knew something was terribly wrong. Because what I saw on that baby monitor was someone standing over my daughter's crib. And the worst part? I was completely alone in the house. My name is Daniel, and 3 months ago my wife Emily and I had our first child. A baby girl named Lily. Like most new parents, we were exhausted all the time. The sleepless nights, the constant crying, the fear of doing something wrong, it was overwhelming. So when Lily finally started sleeping through the night, it felt like a miracle. To make things easier, we installed a baby monitor in her room. Nothing fancy. Just a small camera mounted on the wall above the crib. The monitor screen sat on my nightstand so I could check on her without getting up. At first, everything was normal. Every night I would glance at the screen before going to sleep. Lily sleeping peacefully. Blanket tucked around her tiny body. Soft breathing. Nothing unusual. Until the night Emily had to work the late shift. Emily is a nurse, and sometimes her hospital schedule gets crazy. That night she kissed Lily on the forehead and grabbed her car keys. "I'll be home around 3 a.m., she said. "Text me if she wakes up." I nodded. No problem. After she left, the house felt strangely quiet. Too quiet. Lily had fallen asleep around 9 p.m., so I decided to stay up a little while watching TV in the living room. Around midnight I finally turned everything off and headed upstairs. Before going to bed, I did what every paranoid parent does. I checked the baby monitor. Lily was asleep. Everything looked normal. I placed the monitor on my nightstand and turned off the lights. I must have fallen asleep quickly because the next thing I remember was waking up suddenly. My room was dark. Completely silent. But something felt wrong. You know that feeling when your body wakes up before your mind does? Like your instincts are telling you something isn't right? That's exactly how it felt. I turned my head toward the nightstand. The baby monitor screen was glowing faintly in the darkness. At first glance, everything seemed normal. Lily was sleeping. But then, something moved. My eyes narrowed. I leaned closer to the screen. The camera angle showed the crib, the window, and part of the wall. But near the crib, there was a shadow. A tall shape. Standing perfectly still. Right next to Lily. My heart stopped. For a moment my brain refused to process what I was seeing. Because the shape looked like a person. Someone standing over the crib. Watching my daughter. I sat up instantly. My pulse was racing. "Emily?" I whispered automatically. But I already knew she wasn't home. I grabbed the monitor and stared at it again. The shape didn't move. Just standing there. Tall. Dark. Silent. And then something even worse happened. The figure slowly leaned forward, toward the crib. Toward Lily. That was it. I jumped out of bed and ran toward the hallway. My heart pounded so loudly it felt like it would explode. Every horrible thought raced through my mind. Someone had broken into the house. Someone was in my daughter's room. Someone was about to hurt her. I sprinted down the hallway toward Lily's bedroom door. The monitor was still clutched in my hand. And the figure was still there. Standing over the crib. I didn't even think. I shoved the door open as hard as I could. "Hey!" The door slammed against the wall. I flicked on the light instantly. And what I saw inside the room made absolutely no sense. The room was empty. Completely empty. No one was there. My chest heaved as I looked around. Closet. Window. Behind the rocking chair. Nothing. Just Lily sleeping peacefully in her crib. I walked over slowly. My hands were shaking. "Lily?" I whispered softly. She stirred slightly but didn't wake up. She was perfectly fine. Safe. But when I looked back down at the baby monitor in my hand, the figure was still standing over the crib. I froze. Slowly, I turned my head toward the crib again. Nothing was there. But on the screen, the dark figure remained, standing exactly where I was now standing, watching Lily. And then, the figure slowly turned its head and looked directly into the camera. The screen suddenly went black. For several seconds, I just stood there, frozen. My mind was trying to understand what had just happened. The room was empty. Lily was sleeping peacefully in her crib. But the baby monitor screen had clearly shown someone standing right next to her. And then, the screen had gone black. My hands were shaking as I stared at the monitor. "Okay, calm down," I whispered to myself. "There has to be a logical explanation. Maybe it was a signal problem. Maybe the camera had glitched. Maybe the shadow was just something in the room that looked like a person. That had to be it. It had to be." I stepped closer to the crib and gently checked Lily. She was breathing slowly. Completely fine. I exhaled in relief. "See?" I muttered quietly. Nothing happened. Still, something felt wrong. That image in my head, the tall figure leaning over the crib, wouldn't go away. I turned toward the wall where the baby monitor camera was mounted. It was still there. A small white camera, angled down toward the crib. The little red recording light blinked slowly. Recording. Everything looked normal. So why had the monitor shown someone standing here? I walked back into my bedroom and placed the monitor on the nightstand again. The screen flickered back to life. Now it showed the normal view of Lily's room. Empty. Just the crib, the rocking chair, and the window. No figure. No shadow. Nothing. I forced myself to laugh nervously. "Great," I said under my breath. "Now I'm hallucinating." Sleep deprivation does weird things to your brain. Every new parent knows that. I decided I needed to calm down. So I went downstairs to grab a glass of water. The house felt different now. Every creak of the floor sounded louder. Every shadow looked suspicious. As I filled a glass from the kitchen sink, I glanced at the back door. Locked. Then the windows. Also locked. No sign that anyone had broken in. That made me feel a little better. But when I walked back upstairs, I noticed something strange. The baby monitor was making a soft static noise. I picked it up again. The screen was flickering. Lines of interference ran across the image. For a moment, the picture distorted. Then suddenly, the image returned. But this time, the camera angle was slightly different. The crib was still there. But now the view showed more of the room. Almost like the camera had moved. My stomach tightened. I was sure I hadn't touched the camera. Then I saw it again. At the far corner of the screen. A dark shape. Standing near the wall. My heart dropped. No, the figure was back. But this time it wasn't near the crib. It was standing in the corner of the room. Perfectly still. Watching. I slowly turned my head toward the baby's room door. It was slightly open. Light from the hallway spilled inside. Everything looked normal. No movement. No sound. But on the monitor, the figure slowly stepped forward. Closer to the crib. Closer to Lily. My breathing became heavy. This time I didn't run. Instead, I stared at the monitor as I slowly walked toward the baby's room again. Step by step. Watching the screen. The figure moved again. One slow step. Then another. Each movement was unnaturally smooth. Like the person wasn't walking normally. More like, gliding. My hand reached the bedroom door. I pushed it open slowly. The room was quiet. The crib stood in the center. The rocking chair gently creaked. But there was no one inside. Nothing. Just like before. I looked back down at the monitor. And nearly dropped it. The figure was now standing directly over the crib again. Exactly like before. But now I could see something new. Details. The figure was tall. Very tall. Its head nearly touched the ceiling. And its arms. They looked too long. Hanging almost to its knees. My chest tightened. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't my imagination. Something was in that room. Something the camera could see. But I couldn't. Suddenly the monitor emitted a loud burst of static. The screen distorted again. Then a sound came through the speaker. A whisper. So faint I almost didn't hear it. But it was there. A voice. Soft. Slow. Right next to the camera. Don't move. My entire body went cold. Because the voice didn't sound like it came from the room. It sounded like it came from right beside the camera. Right above the crib. Right above Lily. The monitor flickered again. The figure bent down. Slowly. Closer to Lily. Closer to the camera. And for the first time, I saw its face. Or at least what should have been a face. But there were no eyes. No mouth. Just a smooth, dark surface. Like a shadow shaped like a human. Then the screen went black again. From inside Lily's room. The rocking chair suddenly started moving. Slowly. Back and forth. Back and forth. By itself. And that's when I heard something behind me. A whisper. Right in the hallway. Right behind my ear. Daddy, but Lily was still in the crib. And she was still asleep. My entire body froze. That whisper. It came from right behind me. Right in the hallway. Daddy, the voice was soft. Almost gentle. But it definitely didn't come from Lily. She was still inside the crib. Still asleep. I slowly turned around. The hallway behind me was empty. Completely silent. Just the dim yellow light from the ceiling lamp. No one there. No footsteps. No shadows. Nothing. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. This isn't real, I whispered to myself. But deep down, I knew it was. Something was in the house. And somehow, the camera could see it. But I couldn't. I forced myself to step back into Lily's room. The rocking chair was still moving slowly.